Tom Baker stared at the empty bedroom, his hands shaking as he held his daughter's favorite blue sweater. Kate's bed was still made, her laptop open on the desk, and her school backpack hung neatly on the chair. Everything looked normal, except his 16-year-old daughter was gone. The night before, he had been in his garage, tinkering with his hobby radio telescope when strange signals lit up his equipment. The readings were like nothing he'd seen in his 15 years as a military engineer. But he had been too excited about the discovery to check on Kate. Now, standing in the morning light, he felt the weight of his mistake. "Mr. Baker," Officer Pete said from the doorway, closing his notepad. "We'll file a missing persons report, but honestly, teenagers often run away. She'll probably come back in a day or two." Tom shook his head. Kate wouldn't run away. She loves her advanced physics classes. She has a robotics competition next week. Something's wrong. The police left, leaving Tom alone in the quiet house. He walked to Kate's desk and wiggled her computer mouse. The screen came to life, showing her last searches: star bridge phenomena, unexplained light patterns, and deep space signal anomalies. His heart stopped. She had been researching the same signals he detected. Tom rushed to his garage, his private sanctuary filled with old military equipment he bought at auctions. The radio telescope's readings from last night were still on the screen. But now, looking closer, he noticed something else: a pattern in the static, a repeating sequence that shouldn't be there. He pulled out his phone and called his old friend from the military, Bill. "I need access to the deep space monitoring equipment specs," Tom said without greeting. "The classified ones." "Tom, what's wrong? You sound. Kate's missing. And I think she was taken. Remember Project Stargazer? The signals we detected but were told to ignore." There was a long pause. "Give me an hour." Tom spent that time converting his garage into a command center. He hung maps on the walls, set up 3 extra monitors, and pulled out equipment he hadn't used since his military days. His hands moved with purpose, his mind focused on one goal: finding Kate. Bill sent the files, and Tom's fears grew stronger. The signals matched. What he detected in his garage matched classified reports of unknown objects entering Earth's atmosphere. Looking at Kate's computer again, he found more. She had tracked similar signals for weeks. Her notes were detailed, scientific. Dad's telescope picked up the same pattern. Her last entry read: "Going to check the backyard telescope tonight. Something big is happening." Tom's hands clenched into fists. The police wouldn't believe him. The military would shut him down. He was alone in this, but that didn't matter. He'd find her. He walked to the family safe and pulled out his life savings. Then he made a list of equipment he'd need: signal amplifiers, better computers, and parts to build something that could track these objects. As night fell, Tom stood in his garage, now transformed into a search center. Screens glowed with data, and parts were organized on his workbench. On the wall, he pinned a photo of Kate from her last birthday, smiling as she held up the telescope he had given her. "I'll find you," he whispered, his engineer's mind already calculating, planning, designing. "Whatever it takes, wherever they took you, I'll find you." Above his house, stars twinkled innocently, hiding their secrets. But Tom Baker was no longer just a father or an ex-military engineer. He was a man with a mission, and soon the universe would learn that nothing was more dangerous than a determined human father. He turned to his workbench and picked up his tools. The real work was about to begin. 3 months had passed since Kate's disappearance. Tom's garage had become an advanced detection center, filled with humming equipment and glowing screens. Dark circles under his eyes showed his endless work, but his movements were steady as he soldered another circuit board. His old military phone buzzed. "Tom," Bill's voice was urgent. "I got you access to the deep space radar network. You have 10 minutes before they notice." Tom's fingers flew across his keyboard. The military radar data flooded his screens, showing something incredible. The meteor showers reported in the news weren't meteors at all. They were ships hidden behind some kind of cloaking technology. "Found you," Tom whispered, noting their flight patterns. The ships always appeared in the same areas, following fixed routes like highways in the sky. He spent the next week building something new. His military engineering experience told him every cloaking system had a weakness. If these ships bent light around themselves, the right electromagnetic pulse could disrupt that bending. Tom sold his car and emptied his retirement account to buy industrial electromagnets. He worked day and night, building a massive device in his backyard, hiding it under a tarp when neighbors walked by. The locals already thought he'd gone crazy after Kate disappeared. Let them think that. On a cold Friday night, his sensors detected another meteor shower coming. Tom activated his device. The electromagnets hummed to life, sending out carefully calculated pulses into the sky. At first, nothing happened. Then a shimmer appeared in the air, like heat waves over hot pavement. The shimmer turned into a solid shape, a small silver ship about the size of a delivery van, now visible and disabled in his backyard. Tom didn't hesitate. He grabbed his prepared bag and ran to the ship before its systems could recover. The outer hull was smooth except for one seam, likely a door. He pressed against different spots until he found one that gave way. Inside, the ship was empty except for a pilot's chair and strange controls. Tom's engineering mind took everything in. The layout was logical, just alien. He found a panel that looked like it controlled the ship's computer. Pulling out the interface device he built using Kate's computer research, he connected to the ship's systems. Strange symbols flashed across his screen, then turned into English. His daughter's translation program worked. Tom's throat tightened. She'd been preparing for this, probably planning to make contact herself. The ship's logs confirmed his worst fears. This was a scout vessel, checking on various specimens they'd collected. Running his scanner over the ship's surfaces, he found what he was looking for: traces of Kate's DNA on the boarding ramp. She'd been here. Tom downloaded everything he could from the ship's computer: star maps, technical data, and most importantly, information about the crystalline empire that controlled this sector of space. He also found references to something called specimen trading networks. His hands shook with rage. They were treating his daughter like some kind of laboratory animal. The ship's systems were starting to reboot. Tom made a final download, then ran back to his garage. Through his window, he watched the ship turn invisible again and fly away. But now he had what he needed. The alien data combined with his military knowledge would let him build something bigger, something that could take him to the stars. Tom looked at Kate's picture on the wall. "I'm coming," he promised, "and they'll learn that taking you was the biggest mistake they ever made." In his garage, surrounded by alien data and Earth technology, Tom Baker began to plan. He wasn't just a father searching for his daughter anymore. He was about to become humanity's first interstellar warrior. And the aliens wouldn't know what hit them. Tom's makeshift spaceship looked nothing like the sleek alien craft he captured. Built in an abandoned warehouse using a mix of reverse-engineered alien tech and modified military parts, it resembled a small cargo container with engines. But it worked. 6 months of non-stop work had paid off. The ship's navigation system was locked onto the coordinates he'd stolen, the heart of the crystalline empire. Tom had loaded everything he needed: tools, weapons modified with alien tech, and most importantly, his tracking device calibrated to Kate's DNA signature. "Final systems check complete," he muttered, running through his pre-flight checklist. The warehouse doors opened to the night sky. With a quiet hum, his ship lifted off, cloaking device activated. Earth shrank below him, and for a moment, Tom felt a wave of fear. No human had ever gone this far alone. But Kate was out there. The alien drive system worked better than he'd hoped. Stars blurred past as he followed the stolen star maps. 3 days later, he saw it, the capital world of the crystalline empire. The planet sparkled like a giant diamond, surrounded by ships that looked like shards of glass. Tom activated his cover story, transmitting the fake credentials he created. His ship's computer identified him as a rare materials trader from a minor spacefaring race. The Empire's patrol ships scanned him, and to his relief, let him pass. The spaceport was a forest of crystal spires and geometric shapes. Tom landed his ship, heart pounding as he stepped out wearing the environment suit he modified for this moment. Alien traders of all shapes and sizes moved around him, but none paid attention to another small trader. He followed his scanner's readings toward the detention centers, moving through crystal corridors that sang with strange harmonies. The crystalline Empire's people looked like walking gemstones, their bodies transparent and glowing with inner light. At the first detention center, his scanner found nothing. But he noticed something odd. The crystal walls had the same flaw his old military team once found in diamond-based armor. They could shatter if hit at exactly the right frequency. The second detention center was more promising. His scanner picked up traces of human DNA, but not Kate's. While searching, Tom accidentally activated his scanner at full power. The sound wave hit the crystal walls at their resonant frequency. Cracks appeared in the supposedly indestructible walls. Alarms screamed as the cracks spread. Guards rushed past him, their crystalline bodies flashing with panic lights. Tom slipped away in the chaos, but he discovered something huge, the Empire's greatest weakness. News spread fast. The supposedly impenetrable crystal architecture could be broken by simple sound waves. Detention centers across the planet reported breakouts. Species that had been collected as specimens were escaping. Alert! Alert! The crystal walls themselves seemed to shake with the announcement. All non-essential beings must evacuate. Multiple structural failures detected. In the chaos, Tom found what he needed. Records showing Kate had been here, but was traded to something called the Mercantile Concordat. He downloaded the coordinates just as the building began to collapse. Running back to his ship, Tom watched the perfect crystal city fall into chaos. Ships of escaped prisoners filled the sky. The Empire's police forces tried to maintain order, but their crystal weapons and armor were useless now that their weakness was exposed. Tom lifted off, his simple ship lost among hundreds of fleeing vessels. Behind him, the mighty crystalline empire was collapsing, all because of one human father's search for his daughter. He set course for the Mercantile Concordat's territory. The coordinates showed a massive trading hub thousands of light years away. Tom allowed himself a small smile. These advanced aliens kept underestimating simple human ingenuity. He wondered what weakness he'd find in the next empire. Tom's ship looked different now. Crystal technology salvaged from the Empire's wreckage had transformed his makeshift vessel into something more formidable. The crystalline panels glowed softly as he approached the massive trading station of the Mercantile Concordat. News traveled faster than his ship. The trading station's communications channels buzzed with reports about the crystalline empire's fall. Some called it a slave rebellion. Others blamed industrial sabotage. None suspected a single human father. Approaching vessel, identify yourself, a bored voice demanded over the radio. Tom transmitted his new identity, a successful merchant who'd profited from the crystalline empire's collapse. His ship's holds were actually filled with crystal technology he collected during his escape, the perfect cover story. The trading station was a giant ring in space, spinning slowly to create artificial gravity. Thousands of ships docked at its spokes, and holographic advertisements flickered in every known language. Tom's translator worked overtime processing the signs. Premium specimens, rare life forms, exclusive collections. His hands tightened on the controls. They weren't even trying to hide it. After docking, Tom stepped into a world of pure commerce. Alien merchants haggled over everything from starship fuel to living creatures. His modified scanner, now enhanced with crystal tech, swept the crowds constantly for traces of human DNA. "You're new here," a merchant said, its body a mass of floating tentacles. "Looking to invest in the specimen market. Many opportunities since the crystal collapse." Tom nodded, playing his role. I heard the higher specimens are the best investment. Ah, a serious investor. The merchant's tentacles rippled with excitement. You'll want to attend tomorrow's elite exchange. Very exclusive. Very expensive. Tom bought his way in with crystalline technology. That night, in his ship, he studied the Concordat's trading systems. Something bothered him. The whole economy was based on living specimens, but the numbers didn't add up. The elite exchange was held in a massive hall. Wealthy merchants bid on what they called premium specimens, intelligent beings from across the galaxy. Tom's scanner picked up traces of human DNA, but not Kate's. However, he found something else: records of her sale to the Imperial Scientific Directorate. While downloading the coordinates, Tom noticed more economic discrepancies. The Concordat was using living beings as currency, assigning them value based on their abilities. But they'd made a basic mistake that any human economist would spot. Their living currency could think for itself. Tom couldn't leave without helping. He accessed the trading station's central computer and made a simple change to their specimen classification system. Suddenly, all specimens were classified as priceless, making them worthless as currency. The results were instant and catastrophic. The entire economic system crashed. Specimen holdings became worthless. Trading screens showed massive losses. The elite exchange erupted in panic. All trading suspended. Announcements blared. Economic emergency declared. In the chaos, Tom learned more about the Imperial Scientific Directorate. They were the true power behind multiple empires, using advanced science to maintain control. And now they had Kate. As he prepared his ship for departure, Tom heard whispers among the panicked merchants. Stories about the Crystalline Empire's fall had spread. Some connected it to the current crisis. The smaller species were beginning to realize the larger empires weren't invincible. Another empire falls to simple human thinking. Tom muttered as his ship broke away from the crumbling trading station. The coordinates showed the Scientific Directorate's main research facility was months of travel away. Even with his improved ship, he didn't care. He'd crossed galaxies, toppled an empire, and crashed an economy. Whatever this Scientific Directorate was, they were about to learn that taking his daughter was their final mistake. News of the trading station's collapse followed Tom through space. His ship's communications picked up countless distress signals as the mercantile Concordat's entire banking system fell apart. But he focused on his next target, the Directorate's research facility. Unidentified vessel, a stern voice transmitted. "You are entering restricted space. State your purpose." Tom activated his newest identity, a wealthy specimen collector whose fortune had survived the market crash. His ship's crystal tech upgrades and stolen trading codes backed up his story. The research facility was built into an artificial planet, a perfect metal sphere the size of Earth's moon. Ships of all sizes docked at its equator, bringing specimens and equipment. Tom's scanner showed stronger human DNA readings than ever before. He docked his ship and stepped into a world of cold metal and harsh lights. Robot guards patrolled the corridors while alien scientists hurried past, carrying strange devices. Tom's stolen identity gave him access to the mid-security levels, but Kate's signal came from deeper inside. In a quiet corner, he connected to the facility's computer network. His military training helped him spot something odd. Their security systems were incredibly advanced, but followed predictable patterns. Like all the aliens he'd encountered, they'd made things needlessly complex. Tom uploaded a simple program. Nothing fancy, just a basic loop that repeated their security protocols slightly faster than normal. The system's timing went off by microseconds, creating tiny gaps in their defenses. Through these gaps, he discovered the truth about the Imperial Scientific Directorate. They controlled most of the galaxy through advanced technology, using other empires as puppet states. The Crystalline Empire supplied materials, the mercantile Concordat distributed specimens, and the Directorate turned everything into weapons and tools of control. Warning, the computer announced. Market fluctuation detected in Subsector 7. Tom smiled. His program wasn't just creating security gaps, it was affecting their whole system. The Directorate's complex network couldn't handle simple human programming tricks. Alarms began blaring. The facility's lighting turned red. Critical system error, the computer warned. Unauthorized access in multiple sectors. Security forces ran past Tom as he calmly walked deeper into the facility. His program was spreading, creating chaos in every system it touched. Doors opened and closed randomly. Specimen containment units failed. Test subjects escaped into the corridors. In the confusion, Tom downloaded the facility's classified files. The Directorate had been collecting specimens from primitive worlds for centuries, studying them to maintain control over the galaxy. Humans were their newest interest. Adaptable, innovative, and unpredictable. The files showed something else. A resistance movement had been growing. Other species were tired of being treated like lab animals. They just needed proof that the Directorate could be beaten. Tom's actions were providing that proof. First, the crystalline Empire's fall, then the Concordat's crash, and now the Directorate's systems were failing. All because of simple human solutions to over-engineered alien problems. He found Kate's location in the deepest level, the high-security wing where they kept their most valuable specimens. The files showed why they wanted her. She had been outsmarting their tests, teaching other specimens about resistance. Like father, like daughter. More alarms joined the chaos. The facility's artificial gravity began failing in sections. Tom's simple program had grown into a full system collapse. As he headed for the high-security wing, Tom heard cheering from the specimen holding areas. His attack on the computer system had given them their chance at freedom. He'd become something he never expected. A symbol of hope for the galaxy's oppressed species. But he didn't care about any of that. His daughter was close, and no amount of alien security would stop him now. The high-security wing of the Imperial Scientific Directorate looked like something from a nightmare. Metal corridors stretched in every direction, filled with specimen containers and strange machines. Tom's scanner pulsed stronger now. Kate was close. Behind him, chaos spread through the facility. His simple computer program had grown into a full rebellion. Escaped specimens ran through the halls, and security forces couldn't respond because their systems kept failing. "Attention all security forces," the computer announced, its voice distorted. "Multiple containment breaches in all sectors. Switch to manual protocols." Tom smiled. Manual protocols meant they'd lost control of their automated systems. The aliens were so dependent on their advanced technology that they'd forgotten basic security methods. He reached a massive door marked with warning symbols. His scanner showed Kate was behind it. The door's control panel glowed with complex alien symbols, protected by what they considered unbeatable security. Tom pulled out a simple mechanical tool he'd built, just a metal rod with precise measurements. The aliens had made their security system incredibly complex, with quantum locks and AI recognition. But they'd forgotten about basic physical laws. He inserted the rod into a maintenance board and turned it exactly 45 degrees. The door's hydraulic system hissed. All the fancy electronic locks in the galaxy couldn't beat simple mechanical pressure applied at the right point. The door slid open. Inside was a massive laboratory. Alien scientists fled as alarms blared and gravity fluctuated. Their specimens, beings from countless worlds, were breaking free. In the center of the chaos stood a familiar figure. "Dad?" Kate stared at him in disbelief. She'd grown taller, and her eyes held a new strength, but she was still his daughter. "Time to go home," Tom said, his voice shaking. But Kate pointed behind him. "Watch out." A squad of security drones floated into the lab, weapons ready. Their commander, a tall alien with metallic skin, stepped forward. "Fascinating," the commander said. "You're the one who's been causing all this trouble. A single human defeating our greatest empires. We clearly underestimated your species." Tom raised his hand slowly. "You took my daughter. Did you expect me to just accept that?" Accept it. We expected your primitive species to never even notice. Yet here you are, using simple solutions to defeat our most advanced systems. Perhaps we should study you as well." The drones moved closer. Tom glanced at Kate and gave a tiny nod. He'd seen how she positioned herself. She'd been planning something too. "You know what else humans are good at?" Tom asked, reaching slowly into his pocket. "Creating distractions." He threw a handful of small crystal shards into the air. The crystals, taken from the fallen empire, caught the lab's lights and created a blinding flash. At the same moment, Kate slammed her hand on a nearby console. The lab's specimen containers all opened at once. Dozens of captive beings rushed out, overwhelming the drones. In the chaos, Tom grabbed Kate's hand and ran. They sprinted through corridors filled with escaping specimens and malfunctioning security systems. Behind them, the commander shouted orders that no one could follow. The entire facility was falling apart. "Your ship?" Kate asked as they ran. "Docking Bay 7, Tom replied. "How many others are coming?" Kate grinned. "Remember how you taught me about forming resistance groups in the military? I've been teaching others while they studied me. Everyone's ready." They reached the docking bay to find it filled with escaped specimens fighting for freedom. Tom's simple computer program had given them their chance, and they were taking it. Father and daughter ran to his ship, ready to lead a revolution that would change the galaxy forever. Tom's ship rocketed away from the research facility, leading a fleet of stolen vessels. Each ship carried escaped specimens, now freedom fighters in a revolution that had started with one father's search for his daughter. In the cockpit, Kate worked the communication systems she'd learned about during her captivity. "This is Kate Baker to all escaped vessels. Follow the flight path I'm sending. The Directorate's patrol ships can't track us through the dust clouds." Tom smiled as he piloted. His daughter had grown stronger, smarter, and braver. While he'd been breaking empires from the outside, she'd been building an army from within. "They called us specimens," Kate said, her voice hard. "Treated us like lab animals. But they didn't realize that keeping intelligent beings captive means they'll learn your weaknesses." The ship's computer beeped warnings. Behind them, the artificial planet was falling apart. Tom's simple program had spread through every system, proving that even the most advanced technology could be defeated by basic human ingenuity. Directorate ships approaching. An alien voice called over the radio. It was one of the escaped specimens, now flying a stolen ship. "They're charging weapons." "Watch this," Tom said. He pressed a button, activating the crystal technology he'd salvaged. Energy pulses shot backward, hitting the Directorate ships at their resonance frequency. The mighty warships shattered like glass. Kate laughed. "You used the Crystal Empire's weakness against them. I taught the others about human resistance tactics, but you've been teaching the whole galaxy about human innovation." More ships joined their fleet, vessels from smaller species who'd heard about the uprisings. The Crystalline Empire had fallen. The Mercantile Concordat had crashed. Now the Scientific Directorate was crumbling. Hope was spreading across the galaxy. "All ships, prepare for light speed," Kate announced over the comm. "We're heading to the safe worlds I found in their databases. They'll never look for us there." Tom glanced at his daughter. "You mapped out escape routes." "Of course," Kate grinned. "I'm your daughter, remember? While they thought they were studying me, I was studying them. Learning their weaknesses, making allies, planning for the day someone would give us a chance to fight back." Their fleet jumped to light speed, leaving the burning facility behind. The Directorate's perfect order had been broken by the two things they didn't understand: human family bonds and human determination. 1 month later, on a peaceful green world far from any empire's reach, Tom and Kate stood watching ships land. Former specimens from across the galaxy were building a new society, one without empires or masters. "I missed you, Dad," Kate said, hugging him. "When they took me, I was so scared. But then I remembered what you always taught me about never giving up, about using my mind to solve problems. So I started teaching others. I missed you too. Tom held his daughter tight. Every empire I broke, every system I crashed, it was all to find you. A group of alien children ran past, playing with simple toys Kate had designed. Former specimens approached them, asking questions about human ideas like democracy and freedom. The revolution wasn't over, but it had changed from a battle into a transformation. The directorate thought humans were primitive because we solved problems simply, Kate said. They never understood that keeping things simple is what makes us strong. Tom watched the sun set on their new world. His search for Kate had changed the galaxy forever. Empires had fallen, species had been freed, and a new future was beginning. All because one human father had refused to give up on finding his daughter. Ready to help me teach them about human ingenuity? Kate asked. Tom smiled. Always. But this time, we'll do it together.